welcome to Mums at the Table today. Now, I don't know whether you're up for a 4 a.m. feed on a Sunday morning or if you're joining us on our online community, but we are so excited to have you with us. My name is Mary Ellen, and joining me today are some wonderful women who I'm very excited to be speaking to, Rachel, Fiona and Julie. I have to say, Fiona, I'm very excited to have you back. I haven't been on with you for months, so
I know, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's good to see you rocking that red, the power colour.
Well, today we have some topics that revolve around confrontation, difficult conversations, and dealing with some negative emotions. Now, whether that's learning how to best confront your child's teacher when there's a problem at school, or telling your child that the food they're eating is actually their favourite animal. Awkward. We've got you covered. We'll also be talking to Dr. Samantha Hornery, who is the Education Manager of Learning Links, about managing dyslexia in children. All of that up next, but first, ladies, I got to admit, I've had a pretty stressful week, a lot of emotional ups and downs. I'm thinking I'm going to go spend $35 and go and smash some things. Do you want to join me?
No, you're on your own.
Oh, okay.
You're on your own. I think it's a great idea for people that are like, you know, sales teams that need to reach some sort of benchmark or something like that. But personally, I'm not going to spend $35 to go into a room and break things.
Tell us what are these?
So
tell us
basically
about
these rooms are called smash rooms, right? They're opening all across the country, and you pay about $30 and you go in for about half an hour to an hour and you smash white goods, you smash plates, you smash anything that will break with a baseball bat, and you suit up and stuff. Apparently 70% of the clientele are women.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
Why? What's so surprising about
Because
that?
I thought men would be in for it just as much.
Do you think because men are more aggressive, women kind of, we hold it together and then we wait till we get... We're supposed to?
That's what I was wondering though, because the stereotype is that men aren't allowed to cry. You know, men have to have it together all the time, but women are the emotional ones. But do you think that's not correct?
No, I think everyone's got like emotions, everyone's, you know, got tears, all of those things. It's just what culture sort of approves and disapproves of. But I think it's really interesting that there are a lot of women who are wanting to take their frustration out. I'm wondering if it's regularly or one-offs though.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
I think if they're trying to do it because of a particular problem, it's not going to solve the problem.
No.
But maybe if it, you know, helps them get their frustration out generally.
Maybe.
I wouldn't pay
do you want your
$35
kids
for it,
sort
though.
of watching you go regularly to a break room? That's how
No,
you
but I
release
Sorry,
your
Mummy's just got to check out. I've got to go to a break room.
I wouldn't want that. Like, I'm sure my neighbours probably want me to. They're probably sick of me yelling at the kids. But
What do you do? What do you think? What can we do?
Oh, I'm so terrible. Like, I don't even want to tell this story. I'm going to, though. So when we first had kids, like, really hard. Everything was emotional. It was awful. Feeding, sleeping, everything, like, just on sleepless nights. And we lived in this old fisherman shack. Like, it was, you know, we were going to knock it down and rebuild. We were just living in it because we were. Like, you could sweep dirt out the floorboards. Like, this was an old home. In my frustration, I would, like, hit the wall. And he's like, oh, honey, can you just, like, choose something else? Because this house has to hold us up. So I would just sort of go outside for my walks when I could. Like, you had to find a way, but
Yeah, that's what I do.
Walk it out.
Yeah.
You go for a walk as well.
I walk. Yeah, I take myself away from the situation.
Yes.
And I find after a while I can calm down.
We're so good. We're not confrontational at all.
Peace and
See,
calm.
apparently I was speaking to my husband about what I do when I'm upset, and apparently there's a lot of sighing, there's a lot of door slamming, there's a lot of stomping around intentionally around the house.
So there's emotion to get out.
There's emotion to get out.
There's nothing wrong with emotion. You know, I think
No.
sometimes we always put anger is a negative emotion, but I think anger, there's a place for anger, you know, like if we're defending injustices or, you know, negative things like that, you know, there is a place for it.
But it's what you do with it. It's what you do with that emotion. Yeah. And it's what you want. Yeah, I guess it's finding that healthy way to go, okay, things are going to get in my life that are just going to frustrate me, going to make me upset. Like, that's going to happen. We've all got to dig deep and find a way and find someone to talk to.
Anger passes. You can be really angry in the moment, but will often pass in 10, 15 minutes. And if you've got some skills, I think that will get you through the 10 or 15 minutes. You know, and that's... You know, and my children react very differently to anger too, and seeing how one reacts to anger compared to the other. One becomes more introverted and will want to be isolated. The other one will want to hit it out and talk and argue.
It's so important that what we're doing, mirroring to our children, how we handle anger
really
and everything. And I guess as Christians, we're called, you know, not to... let your anger cause you to sin, and not to, you know, when you go to sleep, don't be angry.
My mother always used to quote that, and she was really big on, my mother's and father's marriage, not to go to bed angry.
Yeah.
And she would always insist on sorting it out. I didn't know this at the time as a child.
Sorting it out.
That's hard. It's really hard.
But as an adult, I heard my parents talk about this, and it's something I think is a really good thing to take on board.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah. Well,
So it works if you both want to stay up and chat about it, but if the other person takes time to process it, it's you've got two different approaches. But
So
guilty.
the consensus is that smash rooms are not the most constructive way of dealing with stuff. Is that what we're saying?
Each to their own.
Yeah, I think it's a
But
personal
I don't think we should fester in that anger, because that
Right.
anger can cause us to do things that cause us to sin, which as Christians, I don't think we're,
and
we try
deal with the
veer away
issue.
from that. Yeah.
You know, not just the symptoms.
Yeah, very wise ladies. Oh, I feel so blessed. Well, there are many frustrating situations in life that make smashing white goods very appealing, I'm sure. And one of them is the battle of getting children to eat their dinner. But as Jess Hunt from EssentialKids.com writes, there is a new difficulty on the horizon, and that's telling your kids that they're actually eating their favourite animals, because sometimes the trauma that it causes children turns them off their food forever. Apparently, this is what Jess Ward was saying.
It does.
So have any of you had that experience? Actually, are any of your kids meat eaters? That's what I want to know.
Mine are now.
Okay.
They were raised as vegetarian, which is interesting. And I talked to my daughter about this the other day. I said, when did you start eating meat? Because she didn't get it at home. She said, I was out with a friend and she had chicken, so I thought I'd try.
You're
and I liked
vegetarian
it.
as well.
I am, yeah. And I said, you liked it? She said, yeah, I did. So I just started eating it.
Fair
so we
enough.
never had to have that awkward discussion.
Yeah.
When they were younger. I don't know what they would have
My
done.
kids are vegetarian, but we did have an issue once because, I'm walking around the kitchen going, okay, I'm going to make shepherd's pie for dinner. 5 minutes later, I hear this sobbing. I'm like, Scout, like, what's wrong? She's like, I don't want to eat people. And I'm like, no, sweetie, there's no shepherds in the pie. It's just called shepherd's pie. So I can see how kids sort of make that connection with the food.
That's so interesting. There was a study done in Britain, actually, the British Nutrition Foundation in 2017, and it showed that 1 in 3 British children don't know that, like 5 to 7 year olds, don't know that milk comes from a cow. So do you think it's important that our children actually know where our food is coming from, or do you think it's just more important to feed them?
No, definitely. I think it's important. I know some of the major retailers like Coles, for instance, they actually have a picture of a cow next to their milk section, and also near the egg section there's
chickens.
There's chickens. But it's important to tell the truth to your children, because how else are they going to learn where things come from? I know my kids are vegetarian and their parents are meat eaters. Hypocrites, I know. But I like to think that we're trying to implement, things that will benefit them for the long term, because there's so many drugs and stuff pumped into our meats and whatnot. But besides the point, I think they do ask, Mum, what are you eating? Is that a cow? Is that? And I tell them that is. And you don't want to eat hey, thanks to Moana, the cartoon. You don't want to eat Dory. Do you want to eat Dory the fish? You don't want to eat Dory. So they do understand that this is an animal. Mummy's eating animals, but we don't want to eat animals.
So what would happen if your child came up to you and said, I want to eat that? Like, do they have control over what they can eat?
I'm with Julie. When that time comes, if they decide to have the cow or eat hey the chicken or Dory the fish, that's up to them.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be up to them at some point. Like, you can do it as whatever you can cope with in the family. Basically, if you're prepared to cook the 2 different meals, then go for it. Like, let's decide.
Kids are inquisitive anyway. Kids want to know. What is that, Mum? What are you putting in your
But it is confusing for them, don't you think, when they see these beautiful little shows on TV, or they go to the farm or the Easter show or whatever with these lovely little pets, and the reality is that when they grow up, we're going to kill them and eat them. Like, it would be pretty confusing for them.
It would.
It's a whole eating and children issue when they're little, trying to get them used to eating different things. So how much as a parent do I say, you have to eat that because this is good for you and this is what I've served up? And how much do we allow children to choose what they want to eat?
Like, it's not even limited to the meat discussion. It could be anything that they refuse to eat. Like, do you allow them to?
Whose kid eats asparagus? Well, there's probably some. I just don't know them.
Probably depends. They're not cooked like I cook them.
Yeah, very interesting.
I know my kids love broccoli, but that's when they were small. I think they're starting to wean off the greens now.
It changes though, because like, I eat different things now than I did as a kid. Like, I used to hate broccoli and I used to hate a lot of things that I will happily eat now. So
They do change. You've just got to
Do
keep
they learn
giving
from
it
you
to
though,
them.
Rach? Like, what Mummy's eating, that's what they want to eat?
Oh, no, they don't want to always eat what I want, and sometimes I do that on purpose so I don't have to share. But, like, if I put onion in, they're just all off it. They go nuts. Yeah, they're like, no, I'm not eating it. I'm like, well,
missing
there's
out.
your bed.
Missing out. It's funny, though, you say that your tastes change over time, because I used to hate chickpeas, but now I love them. So,
and they're good for you too.
And they are good for you. But so Gia and Oliver are in the kitchen now cooking up some chickpeas, so stay tuned for that.
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
You're
purposely doing that, I know. So we are gonna make chickpea popcorn, like something healthy. So when you're watching movies, you can have a healthier popcorn. And we are making it with chickpeas, and it's a very simple recipe. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes to cook in the oven. And I'll tell you what we put in it. This is just 2 cans of organic chickpeas. I've rinsed them really well. They're in our bowl, and we put 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and we'll put 1 teaspoon of Celtic salt or pink salt or sea salt, 1 teaspoon of Italian herbs. Now you can use any herbs you want. You could put garlic powder, you can put Indian herbs, make it Thai, whatever you like. We're making it more of an Italian, I would say. We got some smoked paprika. I'm putting 2 teaspoons of the smoked paprika because the flavour, the smoked flavour, just really, and the crunch. Oh, you're gonna help me? And we've got 2 tablespoons of oil. Olive oil, you can use rice bran oil as well, which has a very light flavour. You just need something with a light flavour. And then you have to mix it round so that it's really covered all the chickpeas. So make sure...
Are these spices?
They are spices, but they're not spicy, so they're not hot. Do you want to try one?
Yum,
These are going to be so good.
yum, yum.
I might even try to toss it. Let's see. Oh, I'm not that brave. Woo! There we go. Toss it through. Okay, and we are going to put it on baking paper, on a tray. Make sure it's just 1 layer, okay? Because you don't want them touching, you want them to get all crispy in the oven. I've got my oven on at 180, so 180 to 200 depending on how hot your oven gets, and you leave them in there for 30 to 40 minutes. I haven't tried it in the microwave, but I have seen people online that actually do put them in the microwave. So you could even put them in your microwave. Let me put that in there for 3 minutes at a time until they get crispy. 1 more. Okay, they're going in the oven, and we'll be back with the end results. How do you like them? Are they tasty? These were in the oven for about 35, 40 minutes. They are so tasty. You know, in the stores, they cost like $3 for a small packet of those in the health food section. And this you can make for $2, $3. Healthy chickpea popcorn. I'm going to use this to scoop it all up. But we can serve it in a little bowl for each person.
And for me
They
too.
taste so good.
And for me too.
You don't feel guilty, and you can put them in your kids' lunchbox when they're watching movies. If they want just a healthy treat, try our recipes. Follow us on thetabletv.com or the Table TV Show on Facebook. Try our different recipes and write on social media what you think or what you would do differently or what herbs you would use. Really looking forward to hearing from you. Enjoy them.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, for more healthy and easy recipes that you can make with your kids, you can ask for your free cookbook today. It's called More Nature's Superfoods. All you have to do is email us at hello@thetabletv.com with your name and address and ask for today's free cookbook. That's More Nature's Superfoods. Well, on a different note, it seems that parent-teacher relationships aren't quite as strong as they used to be, and ABC Radio Perth recently published an article teaching parents how to best talk to their child's teacher when there's a problem in the classroom. Now, this is something that I never even considered as being an issue for parents, but it seems it is, and it seems that it's growing. Now, Julie, I wanted to throw this one at you because you're an ex-teacher. What are your experiences with this? Is it getting worse?
Well, I haven't taught for a long time, but my friends that are teachers tell me that it has got a lot worse since I was a teacher, so I feel for them. I remember one parent coming in, standing at the door as the kids are going out after, and I could see steam. And thought, this is not going to be good. So the parent came in, we had a discussion, and I think we sorted through, we left as friends, and it was a misunderstanding. So the thing I would say to parents is get to know your teacher on a personal level before there's any reason to have an issue or a confrontation.
When you say it's getting worse, what do you mean worse? Like more parents are coming in?
Parents are more entitled.
Yeah.
Parents' expectations are higher. Their demands of teachers' time is higher. Their demands of teachers' levels of what they should be doing are higher. I think it's hard. I really take my hat off to teaching these
I
days.
agree. I was a child. Both of my parents were teachers, so I automatically have a level of respect for that profession, given that you have to be so patient in dealing with different types of children and also their parents as well. But personally, I'd hope to think that I'd be respectful in dealing with teachers. But my kids aren't in school yet, so I can't talk. Rachel might have.
I'm the same as you because both my parents were teachers. One was primary and high school, the other was high school. And I just saw the amount of parents who would just feel so comfortable attacking, you know, my parents or other teachers at the school. So I have to agree with you guys. I'm on the side of the teachers. Like, there are so many parents out there who think their child could do no wrong. Let me tell you, your child's probably not that sweet, you know. I just think if you're going to take the side of your child, like, think about it this way. They've gone to school, they've got their independence, they're not under your eye at the moment. They've got kids pressing their buttons. Like, you don't know what they're going to do. Be open-minded for
And I
goodness
think
sake.
parents need to remember that kids come home with the story as they see it. So,
And the kid that comes home with the story is not the victim.
That's right. So, you know, talk to the teacher with an open mind, get all the facts.
Get all the facts.
And don't download with your child. You know, go in and talk to the teacher about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about downloading to your child, because if you do have an encounter with a teacher, you know, you need to talk to them about something that your child has done and it's negative or positive. How much of that conversation do you actually share with your child? How much do you think is appropriate?
What they need to know.
But
What they need to know.
Like,
If they
I've
need
had to
know,
have that
hey,
conversation.
you know, Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so has said that you did this, I would tell them, did you, and question and let them know that.
So you do hold stuff back from them?
But you have to be careful not to help, like, make them feel like they're being attacked. It has to be a very intentional and strategic conversation because you want that information, you want the truth, you want them to know they're also supported and loved in that, whether they've done the right or the wrong thing. So you need to be really careful the way you approach your kids.
And you want to see that you're working. You want them to see that you're working as a team with the teacher.
With the teacher.
Yeah, because I used to say you can only support. I can only support what the parents are doing at home.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change what they're doing at home.
But it's a team.
That's
like,
right.
if you're not going to work with your teacher, you're setting your child up for a hard situation. Like, you're in this together.
Yep.
Because they're there just as much as you are. Essentially, they're at school all day. So, you know, you really have to think about working together.
But I also think at the end of the day, something that some parents don't get is the buck stops with you as the parent.
Absolutely.
And we've got to stop shifting that responsibility on teachers, on authority. You're the parent.
It stops with you, absolutely.
It does depend on the school, though. Like, it depends on the teachers and the school's policy and their culture and that sort of thing. So that all has to be taken into account.
Definitely. I think we've got to finish the conversation here, but if you would like to have your opinion, please join the conversation on our website, our Instagram and Facebook pages, because this is something that all parents experience. But now, in the spirit of fostering good communication, we have a wellbeing segment on why mealtimes matter.
Hello, I'm Laura Bennett. In our fast-paced lives, it can be really tempting to give up something like family dinner, which, after the end of a long day, just feels tiresome. Time together around the table, though, can have some wonderful benefits. Psychologist and parenting expert Colette Smart is with us. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
So why is family dinner something that we should prioritise?
This is something that as a mum and in our family, we've actually tried to incorporate more and more because there's evidence that shows that there are amazing benefits. The evidence is saying there isn't one specific magic bullet for this. They're almost not even sure why this works so well, but they're saying it works. And what they're seeing is there's increases in well-being in children. They're seeing increases in academic performance, less delinquency. Children are choosing healthier foods. And so there's all this opportunity to... I think because we're sitting at our tables with our children, we can establish family values, we connect with our children. There's this unique time where we can just spend time interacting and asking about each other's days. So it really creates a family cohesion. So there's amazing stuff that can happen in this magical time around the family dinner table.
And nothing you said there suggests that you have to be making the best family dinner roast. That can be around spaghetti bolognese.
Absolutely.
But our lives are fast-paced, so how do we prioritise that kind of time together?
I think if you aimed to start off around 3 times a week, if you can, even if not everybody is there and somebody is off at sport, really try and make it a priority. It communicates to your children, we matter. We matter, you matter. I want to know how your day is. Get children involved in chopping the veggies while you do it. It doesn't have to be a fancy gourmet meal. Make it simple. If your family is young and you need to sit and have Sunday afternoon picnics because children are needing to go to sleep at 5 or 6. I know when my children were younger, dinners weren't doable, but do a different time of the day. Make it work for your family, but prioritise that time.
And it can feel really exhausting for some, the idea of having to get the whole family actually at the table at the same time and open up conversation if that's not something you're used to. So what would some of the best conversation starters, I guess, be so that we can encourage that kind of openness?
So what we've started in our home are saying, name one good thing and one not so good thing that's happened in your day. A friend of mine says, name a good thing, a bad thing, and an interesting thing that happened in your day. And then the family, it's kind of predictable. And particularly my youngest started saying, it's my turn, when's my turn? I want to say my good thing, or even I want to say my bad thing. Then it's also helpful because parents also talk about what didn't go that well in their day. That is powerful for children to hear. Mum and Dad didn't have a fantastic day today, but they're still expressing in the good thing something they were grateful for. And then letting children brainstorm with each other ways they could help when something went wrong. And then there we're seeing empathy being displayed or modelled around the table. So there's so much power and so much hope that can come through a family meal.
So mention something good, something bad, and something interesting.
Yes, that's it.
Some great starters, Colette. Thank you.
Thanks.
You can hear more from Colette and also other parts of the show. Follow The Table TV show on Instagram and on Facebook.
Joining us now is the wonderful Dr. Samantha Hornery, the Education Manager of Learning Links, a not-for-profit organisation established in 1972 that provides education and support services for learning for children with learning difficulties. And today she's here to talk to us specifically about dyslexia. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, I'm sure this is a topic that lots of parents are really interested in. It's very relevant. But just to, start us off, what actually is dyslexia and how many children does it affect?
Dyslexia in its truest sense is difficulty with reading and spelling. So it's children who struggle over the words, who find them hard to sound out. And it can affect anywhere between 5 and 15% of children.
So I've always thought like dyslexia was when the words look different on the page. Is that right?
No, it's one of the common misconceptions. Letters don't move on the page. They may for a really tiny group of children, but on the whole, it's about the sounds, what you hear and what you see on the page, and then how you actually sound those out reliably.
So it's more connecting the sounds, like an auditory thing, with what you can see. Is that it?
Definitely. Okay. Definitely.
So just speech issues with children and dyslexia often run together?
Very much so, and it's usually the first warning sign. So those children who are late to speak before they go to school, those children who start school still struggling to say some of their sounds. I often say to parents, it's like asking them to go and run a marathon with a broken leg. If they're still having trouble saying those sounds, they're really not going to be able to read those words clearly. And it doesn't mean that you're definitely going to have trouble reading, but it does mean that when you are struggling to read, it's often the case that your speech wasn't so fantastic.
Is it genetic? Like, is it something that people pass on to generations? Or
it's common in families that if somebody struggled to read, so say your father or your brother or your cousins are having trouble reading, it's likely that you are also going to find it difficult. It doesn't mean to say that you are going to have a problem reading, but we do find that it does sometimes happen in families.
So how treatable is it and can it be cured?
Yes, absolutely. Look, I wish I could say cured, definitely. We definitely are not a fan of cure because it's not a disease. Yeah. But children who struggle to read need to be taught how to read. Reading is not natural. It's not like speaking. Our children learn to speak because they hear us and then they start to mimic us. But I could read a book to you forever and you still won't learn to read. It's not until I start to teach you all those sounds and put them together. And so that's what a good dyslexia program should look like.
Right. So if I'm worried and I send my child to school and I have some concerns, At what point do I go to the school and go, look, I'm just a little bit worried about my child's reading, and will the school fix it?
Okay, I have to say, the minute you're worried, go and check it out. You know your child better than anyone else. You are listening to your child, and you are going to be your child's advocate for their whole life. And so if you are listening to them read at home and it doesn't sound like it's getting any better, you're listening to them read at home and it sounds a bit stunted, you have to really bribe them to read, it's okay to be worried, and you should trust that. Always go to the school first. Hopefully the school have got a program in place that can start to help you as early as possible. But if they don't, that's the time to seek help.
And who do you go to get that tested?
If you are worried about their speech sounds and their speech wasn't fantastic, start off with a speech pathologist. Let them have a look at that first. But an educational psychologist can help do a good assessment for you, because sometimes it's not just reading. Sometimes it's not just reading, it might be writing skills, it might be maths too, and you want someone to take a good look at it. But at the end of the day, it's a teacher. It's a teacher, someone with extra training in reading, who's going to sit with your child and help you read at home with your child.
So what can I do at home?
You can read first. You can read. Look, we all live on devices and we have all of this great technology, but at the end of the day, we have to be reading things and showing our children that reading is positive, that we
Turning pages.
Definitely, that we learn great things from reading. Look, there is nothing better than picking up a book to read. But reading, showing your child that reading is important is helpful. But then it is throwing everything at it. At home, it's about finding a time that works for your child. If they're great in the morning, grab them then. If they get bored while someone else is at swimming, take the book then. Don't be so hung up about it being a book. Magazines are fine. No, they're not Chaucer and Shakespeare, but they're fine. They're fine to get started. Read anything and read widely. Look, the NRL scores on a Sunday morning are fine to read, as long as you're reading something.
I'll often be talking to parents who'll say, oh, this Johnny's slower in this, or, Susie's doing that and they're a bit behind. How often does something like this then go undiagnosed?
Often.
Often. Wow.
Often. Look, it will go undiagnosed because you're reluctant sometimes parents are reluctant to identify that there's a problem with their child.
The kids are also smart at memorising.
Kids
I know some children who can memorise, when
a
you
lot
read
of reading is memory.
Yeah, but then they memorise and then you think, oh, they got it. But no, they didn't get it. They just memorised what you just read.
But I could listen really well.
Yeah.
I could hear really well and I could remember the story and I could maybe get on and do some other things that make you think that I knew how to read that.
Children that have it probably feel great frustration and probably have a really low self-esteem and feel really bad about reading and don't want to read. How can we help them get over those sorts of emotions so that they want to learn to read?
I think by talking about it in the first instance. Look, there are a group of children who will think that reading is not important, and the fact that they're not good at reading, they're able to compartmentalise it in their brain and go, that's okay, and that's fantastic. But for many children, reading is not the only thing they struggle with. They'll struggle with lots of things, and they will start to feel that that's about their intelligence. They start using words like I'm dumb and I can't do that.
And then other kids, obviously, because
that's right.
schoolyards can be mean.
That's it. You go into the extra classroom away from everybody else, and so everyone knows that you're there. When children are young, we can use stickers and we can pull kids out and have fun. The older they get, the harder that is. So letting them talk about that and responding to tell them that life is good and that reading will be great is really important.
I guess normalising the issue is what it's all about, right? Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Sam. It's been really, really awesome having you here.
You're welcome.
Now, if you'd like to watch any more of today's episode or you'd like to learn more about Learning Links, please visit our website, mumsatthetabletv.com, or visit learninglinks.org.au. We'd love to see you next time, and God bless. Bye.